Our first guest tonight suited up for the Cougars for 3 seasons, 2008, 9, and 10. He delivered 127 solo tackles from the safety position, had 10 interceptions, second most in school history. Our pleasure to welcome Andrew Rich to the Wise Guys via Zoom tonight. Andrew, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I like that studio you have going on there. It looks good.
You still like the Big 12 stuff in the back? We decided to go Big 12 theme.
I like the Big 12 stuff in the back. That looks
pretty
nice.
It's pretty fun.
The look you've got behind you is that someone's holding you against your will, and you're surrounded by brick walls.
What's up with that?
Say, this is my wife's doing. I'm not going to tell her that you just mentioned that.
See, now that's good.
This is a little bit of it's a little brick veneer.
Okay.
See, but you were too close up before because we couldn't see
the skull.
The scope in the skull.
I'm trying to scoot back from this thing as much as possible, given my poor complexion and just ugly face. But yeah,
come on.
I have to be close to it.
Tell your wife that we love the scenery. It's very what? It's construction-like.
No, it's not. It's
they're bricks. It's construction-like.
The brick veneer look on one wall is very modern and clean, is what it is. So, Andrew, don't worry about Dave. He doesn't really know architecture and style like I do. But
look, I know Pink Floyd, and I know another brick on the wall when I see one.
So hey, before you were probably listening, like we were talking about our guests, so we got you and we've got Riley, and I was telling Dave how much I love your dad and how much I love Riley's dad. You and Riley both have phenomenal dads. I love your dad.
We do have phenomenal dads. And believe it or not, our dads. My dad's a couple years older than Riley's. They got after it, man. They played against each other in high school, and my dad went on to Weber, and Riley's dad went on to USU, and they were both good players in their rights, and they still think they can play. And you get the back in my day stories, and I was very blessed to have really good parents. My dad's great. I'm glad you think a lot of him, because he thinks a lot of you guys. He thinks a lot of BYU, and kind of I don't want to get off script or anything, but my experience at BYU changed my dad's life.
Really? How so?
So my dad's got a pretty cool story, pretty cool redemption story. My dad passed away, or my dad's parents passed away when he was 13. And he was the youngest of 5, and they were basically lived by themselves. And sports is kind of what kept my dad going to school and doing the things that he should be doing. However, like, as you can imagine, growing up in the 70s without parents, and anyways, he kind of, sports kind of guided him. I love that he ended up at Weber State, but my dad has a pretty awesome story about overcoming addiction. He was in a very pivotal time, kind of right when I got back from my mission, right when I left on my mission. And, Bronco gets a lot of heat for the firesides and stuff. Like, people always make fun of that. That actually changed my dad's life. And my experience at BYU changed my dad's life. And so I'm, as much as my dad, my dad's grateful for the university. I'm grateful that I, got that experience, but big picture had a huge impact on him.
Well, and I have tremendous respect for your dad, because he didn't hide from that, and he shared his redemption story, at least with me. And we used to run into each other at Oak Ridge and out and about, and I just grew to have a great love for and respect for him because of who he had been, where he had fallen, and who he had become after all of that, which I think was just a phenomenal story. So I really have a great appreciation and love for your dad.
Same.
People dogged those firesides, the squeaky wheels. They dogged them on games BYU lost, but we've been on the road all over the country, and we've gone to those. Those are that's part of the greatest thing of BYU coming to your neighborhood is a fireside before the game for the whole area. And Kalani's doing them in the summer. They said,
Yep.
we can still do them. We'll just do them not necessarily before the
summer.
games.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I watched, whether we were in Michigan or Nebraska or Virginia, you watch kids come in and listen to these BYU football players bear their testimony and give talks or sing a song, and it has an impact on them.
It's
bigger
different,
than whatever happens at the football game.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm a fierce defender of those. And I love that Kalani does them in the summer. Like, and it's funny because game prep, everybody's a little different on how they prepare for games. There's some players that it just didn't really resonate with before the game, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They weren't forced to go. And there's some people it actually helps them, kind of calms them. And, for me, it was a great experience. Looking back when you're older and you're not in the moment, especially, you think about, wow, that was a pretty impactful time for me. I remember we actually did it one year in the Provo Detention Center. And, those are things that you don't forget. And the game is so much bigger than sometimes I think we get caught up in the moments of the games. And don't get me wrong, like, I love them. I hate losing.
Yeah.
I love every aspect of sports, but there's definitely more things that you learn in those experiences. So I was grateful that I had those experiences while I was there.
It's kind of cool too. And you got to travel all over the country with BYU. The connection that people all over have to the university through the sports program is really cool. And you got to experience that, whether you were speaking at a fireside or not, just to see the fan base that would show up. Dave and I are really fortunate. We get to travel sometimes with both football and basketball. I'll never forget, we went down to Vegas for BYU's game against Arizona. Was that just last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had a
Fan fest.
like a fan festival
Yeah.
Friday night before the game. And Dave and I are driving out there, Andrew, and we're going, whoa. Who decided that this thing was going to be out here? Because this is nowhere near the town.
And
Like,
then,
we're
yeah.
35 minutes out out north and west of town. I said, nobody's coming to this thing. We get out there, and 10,000 BYU fans showed up at that fan fest, and we did a live show from there. And people lined up to talk to us and to talk about. And they were not just from Vegas; they were from all over, about their connection to BYU and the sports programs. You witness that all over the country. What's that like when you go even back to the East Coast and just feel the appreciation from the fans that you're there?
Yeah, it's special. Like, and I don't think sometimes as a player you really recognize how, like, until you're in Tallahassee and you realize, oh my gosh, like, look at all these people here. There's people here that support and are just fanatics about the program. I think our footprint on college sports and just the world as a whole is so underestimated, because, like, you go try, I don't know, the fan base. Like, I remember playing at TCU, you go to like the Dallas Fort Worth area, and there are loads of BYU fans, just like that, thousands of people. And you're just like, man, this is impressive. And I think, especially over the last 10 or so years, the way that Tom and from the athletic side, how they've kind of harnessed, for fans in Las Vegas to go have an experience and interact with some of the athletes and some of the, the people involved in athletics, like, that's amazing. It's, from a playing perspective, it makes a huge difference too, because you're not alone. Sometimes you get in those places, you feel alone. Like, it's when you can hear people cheer, in the other opponent's section. Now I was going to bring up the Tulane game when I was a junior, and we had like 4 fans to every 1 fan of Tulane that was in the Superdome, but that's not that impressive. But regardless, like, you're in New Orleans and you got a few thousand people there to watch you clear far away. It's unique, definitely unique at BYU.
Andrew Rich is with us on the Wise Guys tonight. Wyoming in town, now out of town. What most impressed you from that game the other night?
Yeah, so first of all, Wyoming, BYU is Wyoming Super Bowl, in my opinion. That might be a biased view of how they really think, but you could tell they were prepped in they were locked and loaded to play us. I thought they played physical. I thought they had a really nice scheme, and you could feel their desire, to compete, and which I have a lot of respect and admiration for the way that they play. I probably, like most fans, was a little nervous there in that first half with just the energy, and I was a little bit surprised how well they, or tough they played us in the trenches.
Yeah.
I thought, hey, we're gonna gash these guys on both sides of the ball, from start to finish. And I was, they played us tough that first half. They're always physical. What I came away from the game thinking, like, wow, there are some people to me that really stood out. You guys talked about Miles Davis, like burst. Like that kid had some really special plays that he made. I can't imagine being a sophomore and playing at that level. Like I was a return missionary, 21 when I'm playing it. Like, it's impressive to see guys like that step in and play. From the defensive side of the ball, like, I had never really watched Micah Harper play. Like, he's physical, man. I was like, dude, he next to Max might be our most physical defender, and he made some really good plays. And I thought, obviously, in the second half, we made some good, we made some good plays offensively. Defensively, we played pretty much, tough the whole game. Jaron continues to make throws that you're just like, wow.
We were watching him on film today, Andrew, for the review show that airs right before this, and we've already seen it before because we looked at the film to get ready for the show, but we'd watch the throw again, and Dave Nixon and I would look at each other and go, what in the heck? That is a great throw. He had a bunch of those in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, like the big long one to Hill, like the catch was great. The throw was like, wow, that was special. He's made some like cover 2 hole shot throws that have been impressive. Like, I was texting with some of the guys saying, like, man, I don't think we know how lucky we have been over the last, like, you watch a guy like Jaron and Zach, it's like, dude,
back to back, like, right?
Holy cow. That is like, anyways, we've been lucky to watch those guys play at the level that they play. And the throws have just become common to us, like, viewers, that one day we're going to look back and say, oh my gosh, that guy, like, because you just don't see throws like that consistently for that many years at a university. I guess at BYU, with the quarterbacks we've had come through, but I've been really impressed with him.
What's it like for a safety, since you played safety, what's it like for a safety to try and contain a Jaron Hall?
It's a nightmare for defenses because he extends the play. And when you're not like a 4-3 guy like me, you got to hold and grab and get a little bit, when you play a quarterback like that or a team like that, honestly, you got to be really, really physical up front and just slow people down through physicality. But when you have a team that's physical and you also have a quarterback that's like an NFL guy that can make throws, like I played against my senior year, Kaepernick, Andy Dalton, Christian Ponder, and
that's not a very good group. Holy mackerel!
Andy Dalton. Did I say him?
Yeah, Andy with TCU. Yeah, he was great and has been great.
There was Jake Locker. I'm thinking of Jake Locker.
Yeah.
So those are the four, like, those are like 4 first round, early second round guys. And Kaepernick was by far the best because he could hurt you so bad at his feet, and he was enough of an accurate thrower, but he wasn't. I mean, Jaron can throw, like, not even a comparison between the way that those guys throw the ball. Plus, Jaron's as fast as he is. So, nightmare type stuff. Fortunately for us, like, Wyoming didn't have any burners, that could. Anyways,
interesting. So we were watching, and I wonder what your thought is on this, and how things change so dramatically. So those first 2 drives, Wyoming goes down, and they're like 7 runs into the game in 2 drives, and they're averaging 9.7 yards a carry. And we're all going, what in the heck? This is what happened last week. then just like that, magically, for the rest of the game, they average 2 yards a carry. And when it's all said and done, BYU holds them under 300 yards, and they average 3.6 yards a carry by the end of the game.
Yeah.
How does it so bad to start, and then all of a sudden they got it figured out, and then Wyoming can't run the ball anymore? What happens?
Yeah, I actually, to me, so I think there's a couple of things that happen in those type of situations. One, I think as a player, you kind of get like slapped in the face a little bit. There's like some pride stuff that happens when teams are rushing the ball like on you like that. There's this feeling of like, they're going to just try to out physical us, and they believe that they can. So there's that element of like, I need to get my butt in gear. There's also the element of like trying to, it's the first kind of few rounds of a boxing match where you're trying to feel what the other group's going to try to do to you. And it was pretty apparent that Wyoming thought that they could just out physical us. And obviously there were some adjustments made. There's some, to me, it's all, the college football is all about making in-game adjustments. And I think we obviously made the right adjustments. To give them credit, like that running back was a good player, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, he's a Doak Walker Award preseason watch list guy. Like, he's very good.
I didn't know that. That makes sense. Like, you watch him run and the way that he moved, like, he's a good player. And we were pretty thin. It seemed like we lost some dudes up front, and so some of the guys filling in, kind of getting their first reps and getting a feel for what that looks like. It just takes a little time. If I was looking at that, and this is probably how Tuiaki looks at it, it's like, okay, there's not a guy on the outside that I feel like can beat us. I'm just going to load the box and make this quarterback try to make some throws, which eventually we did, and he couldn't, and we got some sacks and some good coverage sacks, and the rest is history. But yeah, the adjustment was definitely big time.
Yeah, and a lot of those young guys got some important reps. I think you're right. They probably did learn to adjust and play at that speed because they hadn't before. There's a bunch of young guys in that defensive line. Micah Harper, who they had big plans for, and then he got an injury, and now they're just kind of bringing him back, and he's back healthy again. So we're seeing the guy that they thought they'd have a couple years ago. But guys getting reps. And now, with about one exception, everybody's coming back this week. So what does that say for the depth when those young guys all got a chance to play, and now all the veteran guys are coming back? That's got to be good, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's good for now. It's good for later. You always are, you don't know how those young ones are going to react in the moment. And that's a perfect game for them to get some reps and get a feel for how quick the game is. And then just overall from a confidence level, they're more prepped and ready. When you have to prep for a week, and you're going to be a starter. I actually remember starting my first game, David Tafuna, he separated his shoulder in a fight in practice, which I was like, okay, man. So I worked with Kellen, and you prep, and you just look at the game differently when it's actually your time to like either make plays or get plays made on you. Like you prep differently, you look at the game differently, and so the more chance that those young guys get, the better obviously the better off that we're going to be, both in the short term and the long term, because the way college football is now, you're one play from a guy getting his cap ripped off, getting ejected. Like that wasn't really the case for me, at least.
And no targeting, eliminating you from a game immediately.
Oh.
Yeah, right. That's right. Like you got to be ready, because this guy might get a bogus targeting call, or it might be a legit one, but you actually have to play. Where it was a little different. Even the way that they handle injuries. Like, I hate to be like one of those guys, like, oh, in the glory days, like, I think medically, the way that we train and take care of players and athletes has evolved over the last 10 years. And so it just forces you to have depth. Otherwise you'll just get eaten alive.
Yeah. Way more conservative. I will say this, when I played, and even when Andrew played, you got sent back out there in situations
Well,
where
they
you
rub dirt on you.
absolutely would never get sent back out now. So,
That's where they said, "Hey, put some dirt on that and head back.
get back out
back
there."
out
Yeah.
there.
It's like, how many fingers
Yeah,
do
I
I
mean-
have up? And Andrew's like,
I mean-
4. Like, well, 3. That's close enough. Get back out there.
Yeah. Well, no, it was, hey, let me find a teammate that will help me remember these 3 words in the concussion protocol, so that when the guy comes back and asks me what are the 3 words, he can just whisper them to me. You know, like it's different and it's good, right?
Right.
You know,
It's good. It's all good. So
it's all good stuff.
So what about Utah State? You went 2-1 against the Aggies in your time. What's your thought on this week's game? What it means? Maybe a little scouting report for us.
Yeah. So the in-state games are interesting because there's a whole different energy that comes from playing the in-state games. So it's almost like the record stuff doesn't really mean anything or as much. Like the last thing as a player you want to do is think, oh, these guys are 1-3 and like I hope they don't think that. I know that Utah State's not going to feel that way. I mean, there's no pressure on Utah State, right? I mean, they're in a good spot from a pressure perspective. So I love the in-state game. I always loved competing against, that game always mattered to me. It mattered to the team. We're kind of Utah State's in a peculiar situation. I was actually down at work today and there's a bunch of Utah State fans. And of course, like I do my best to just give those guys a hard time.
Of course you do.
It's an obligation.
It's so easy right now. And being from Ogden and my dad playing at Weber State, like,
oh yeah,
anyways,
you got that going for you too.
I got that. I got, UNLV stuff. I've got it all.
Why hey, Andrew, why do these guys take such offense when people say that Utah State University in Ogden? Why do they not like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Whenever I tell people I'm from Ogden too, they do either think I'm either a gangster or that I went to Utah State, because people legit sometimes think that. But the game's interesting. I feel like it's kind of a trap game because 1, it's in-state, and 2, they've lost some games, and so obviously they're going to be motivated. I'm curious to see at the quarterback position what they do.
They could go with the Laga kid, or stick
have
with
they
Bonner.
talked about that?
8 interceptions and only, what is it? 8 interceptions and 6 touchdowns.
It's hard for Blake Anderson to sit him
That's-
down because he brought him with him.
That's
He
scary bad.
brought him with him, so there's that. But he's also, at this point in time, like you got to make some sort of a change or adjustment. Otherwise, like people check out, and where they're 1-3, like to me, I would start that young kid and say, I'm gonna give him reps. Maybe they look at it like, hey, we're not gonna start him because we're going into Provo and we're playing an in-state game. But Utah State is always like, watch them last year. Holy cow, they were a good team. They made really good plays. They had some really good athletes. So it's going to be interesting to see, kind of what they try to do schematically. I'm not quite sure, honestly. I don't think they know.
Now they're averaging 15 points a game. I'm not sure there's a strategy behind any of that.
I don't remember Utah State averaging 15 points a game. And,
No.
And like what Andrew's talking about, that's a hard decision that Blake's got to make, because if you do go with the Laga's kid, and he falls flat on his face, then where do you go? That's a hard thing. And do you say, you know what, BYU's really good this year, and maybe we ride this thing out another game, and then we get into where the competition's a little,
Conference.
we have a little more opportunity, and then I play the kid if things. I don't know. I would be talking to myself. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. I'm glad I'm not in the position that Blake's in right now, because that is not an easy decision to make.
Yeah, no, it's not. And it's the other hard thing is, like, they won the conference last year, and he was, the quarterback was, they returned Bonner, he was there. And so that's the other hard thing is, I think, he probably feels some loyalty from that aspect as well. To me, the keys to the game, to me, like offensively, like rush the ball, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we can rush the ball, we're going to be in a good spot. And then like where you get a team that's like desperate like this, and they start to do some of the trick stuff. Like you got to eliminate the big plays, or the trick plays, the long plays. If you can eliminate those and make Utah State sustain a consistent drive and make play after play during a drive, like BYU's got obviously a really good chance to perform really well. To me, those are the two things that I've thought about as they kind of enter this game.
It's a great opportunity for BYU to have ESPN all to themselves on a Thursday night. For Hall, there aren't many nights left where he gets his own night.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's an NFL game on Prime, if you can find it or subscribe to it, but ESPN's just right there. So you got Hall. It's really an opportunity for Hall to establish himself and then to back it up against Notre Dame and Arkansas. And, for Miles Davis, and the Aggies are 118th and stopping the run. If he's legit, he's going to have a huge night against these guys.
It'd be nice to get him some confidence going into Notre Dame.
I think that's a huge opportunity for BYU, despite Utah State's 1-3.
Yeah. To me,
and Gunner's back.
That's spot on. And Gunner's back. I'm excited to watch him play. I don't know what the extent of his injury, but I'm excited that he's feeling healthy enough to play.
We were talking about it. And this is an interesting one, Andrew. So, and the only reason we're freely talking about it now is because his mom tweeted about it. So I'm like, okay, if his mom's talking about it, then I guess we can talk about it.
It's public information.
Right. So when he fell on the ball before the season, he injured his kidney.
It was like the first Saturday of fall camp.
And so they had to do a series of scans and wait till his kidney was healthy again. That's not something you mess around with. But
no,
the only thing, he was back where he could do whatever he wanted from a workout perspective. He just couldn't be hit. And so his injury is so different than most injuries. I mean, he's been lifting like a crazy man, running he's been training for the combine, running speed ladders and doing cutting drills and all this stuff. So he's not your typical guy coming back from an injury. He's going to come back unbelievably fresh and unbelievably fast Thursday night.
Yeah.
Because it's not a leg or an arm or a shoulder or a hip or anything like that.
Yeah.
And the good news is the scan, at least according to his mom, he's like ready to roll. And so I feel like this is the kind of injury where he could come back and look really fast out there, which I think will be fun. So what's your thought on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest part for him, coming back from an injury like that is more mental, right? Like, it's a physical game, and that stuff maybe is in the back of your mind, but you think about what he does and what like a healthy Puka does for Jaron and the whole team, right? You're all of a sudden stretching the field, and everyone talks about, the tight ends, those guys will only help because everyone knows that we've got a couple of now one NFL guy tight end. Like, if I'm a safety, that's where I'm spending my time, man.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you got a guy that can blow the top off, and maybe two guys, because Hill is like playing out of his mind, it just changes the dynamic of how teams prepare for you, and they have to play you much more honest.
Riley Nelson's coming up in just a bit. Andrew Rich is with us on the Wise Guys, and bring your questions, and we'll get after him there.
Let's ask a couple of these. So Earl Carr is asking us, do you have a favorite memory from playing the Aggies when you played?
Ooh, well, I have a bad memory. I'm not going to share that one. My favorite would probably be my junior year. I had actually a really good game. They played us tough. They had Robert Turbin and they had Bobby Wagner, and they had some really good athletes, and they were kind of just starting to crest that hill of being a really good team. So I would say that my junior year was the best. My sophomore year, so Kellen's senior year, you'll probably remember this. We beat them by like probably 30, and they scored a touchdown maybe in the last like couple minutes. And honestly, we walked off like it felt like we had lost the game. Like, their fans had lost their minds because they scored, and we were nationally ranked. That was a weird experience. And then I actually got injured my senior year.
Yeah, Duff Tittle, BYU Sports Information, was telling me today about this hit that he saw you take in the Aggie game.
In that senior year game.
That was just brutal.
Yeah, that was a bad one. The way that it was kind of, playing in the opponent's place, if you guys remember, Jaime Hill actually got fired after that game, our defensive coordinator. Right. It was kind of a turning point in our season. And so that was definitely not a great memory, but it was the start to a good thing.
But your junior year, you beat that team your junior year, right? And
yes,
and people forget that Bobby Wagner, like, he was arguably the best defender in the National Football League for a decade. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And Turbin was a
to
phenomenal, NFL caliber running back. To beat that team was something special.
Yeah, they were good, man. They had some really good athletes. I made a play on 4th and 1 on Robert Turbin in the open field, and I like to say that it was me that was athletically superior to Robert, but that's not the truth. He kind of slipped because our grass was a little bit wet. But I was like, he slipped simultaneously as I was making a play on it. So it looked like it was a better play than
he got afraid. He slipped on purpose because he was afraid you were going to
he
jack
was afraid.
him.
No, he was a good player, and that guy, like, standing next to him, like, I don't even remember. He is.
Oh, his guns. His guns
loaded.
were all time.
Yeah. In fact, the next year, maybe he was I'm trying to remember what year he was, because the year he hurt us really bad one year at BYU. That might have been after I left, but that was a good year. Obviously, offensively we were clicking and scoring the ball, and that was probably my best memory.
That was a fun one. Tyson Price is asking us. He says, "Hey, Andrew, how many games do you think BYU wins this year?" So what do you think they'll finish with?
Can I pull up their schedule? Can you guys tell me?
Yeah, we can tell you. So here's who's left. So right now they're 3-1, right? And left is
Utah State,
Yep.
Notre Dame, Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull it up right here.
East Carolina, Liberty, Boise State, Utah Tech, and Stanford.
It's interesting because Boise State's down this year. Utah State is down this year. We thought they'd be playing the two best teams in the Mountain West this year, and Utah State and Boise State, and they're both down. Wyoming might be the best team in that league.
I think they are.
And that was not who. It was either Wyoming or Fresno State right now, are the two best teams in that league. San Diego State's also good, but not as good as they've been.
I think we get Notre Dame.
Yeah,
I think going to Arkansas.
Arkansas's coming up here, so Notre Dame's neutral in Vegas. Arkansas's coming up here. Yeah,
that's going to be a good one. They're good, man.
Yeah, they're
Arkansas
good.
is staying good. Liberty's another that's going to be a tough one, like a surprisingly hard game.
And that's at Liberty.
They're at Liberty. Their QB left, right? They're really good with Malik. So I think we win that one.
East Carolina at BYU.
We go 2 out of 3 there. We beat East Carolina.
Boise State at Boise.
We're gonna lay it on K-pop up at Boise State.
Okay. And then Utah Tech, that's Dixie, the old Dixie at BYU.
Yeah,
and then
Dixie,
at Stanford.
At Stanford. I mean, Arkansas's. I think Arkansas and Notre Dame. If we go 2-0 against those teams.
They're top. You're saying they're 11-1 and in the top 12 at that point.
Yeah, we're in really good shape. I'm a blue guy. Obviously, I want BYU to win. I think we might go. Maybe we split, right?
Right.
I think we could win. I think we could win 10 games.
So 10-2. And you want to know what? At the beginning of the season, like we were all saying, I put the over/under at 9.5 is what I was saying. Yeah. And now I'm with you. I might change it to 10 as my over/under.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously the glaring toughest game that we have. I think Notre Dame to me doesn't have the quarterback that is going to be knocking down giants unless they make a change there. Arkansas is a good team, and they're a physical team, and that quarterback is good,
dynamic, yeah.
And athletes in space have always caused problems for us, and that's what Arkansas is. The other teams. I was watching Boise losing to UTEP, and I text my friends like, only if Utah and Boise State and Utah State could lose like in the same week.
Would that be the dream? Is that the trifecta dream of all dreams for you?
That's the trifecta dream.
It might be this week. It may be this week.
I want whatever Coach K-Pop's coaching to be good, but other than that,
you want his position group to be good, but not that school.
Yeah.
A couple more questions for Andrew Rich tonight, and then we've got 5 quick hitters before we'll let you go. We sure appreciate your time here on the Wise Guys. Some of your big hits. September 5th, 2009, Cougars go to Dallas Cowboys Stadium, beat Oklahoma 14-13. Sooners ranked number 3. Your defense holds them to 13 points. What was your favorite moment from that day?
I mean, obviously, seeing the field goal fall short. You know, I think the moment for me that was really cool, like personally, right? Like I had played as a sophomore, but like actually being like a starter going into a game, playing, you know, the number 3 ranked team in the country, Heisman Trophy winner. Like that was a moment for me that was really special. Like, man, a lot of hard work's been put in to get there. So that was really cool. And then just feeling like we could play with what you would consider to be a top tier, you know, school in the country, like athletically, you know, I felt it just did a lot for my personal confidence as far as my ability to play. But really, like if you think about that win, you know, we didn't have Harv. You know,
That's right.
seeing a guy like Brian Correa, who wasn't on any scouting report, come in and just tough as nails, play really, really well. Obviously, Max made some big plays. You know, the celebration with coaches and just all the time and effort and energy put in an off season to go into that game. That was really cool. That was another game where you look in the stands, like you look in the crowds, like BYU, like there were so many fans at that game.
That was great. It was great.
You know, we're playing down in Oklahoma country, obviously close to Texas, and we had so many people there, and the support was amazing. You know, I always laugh because everyone's like, "Oh, well, Sam Bradford got hurt." I'm like, "Oh yeah, they just pulled out their 5-star quarterback and added another 5-star that broke every high school throwing record ever." I feel really bad for him. So those are some of the special highlights of that one.
That was pretty fun. Brian Correa, Davis High boy. Yeah. So he and my son Landon went and won a state championship, beat Cottonwood like 52-51 or something crazy like that. So Brian was no stranger to winning, but what a night he had. Unbelievable. So, okay, next one, Andrew. Okay. November 28th, 2009. You've got an interception and a 52-yard return in BYU's 26-23 overtime victory against Utah. What sticks out to you on that one?
Well, the pick was a great highlight for me. Remember we were playing cover 2 and they ran a tight end and they thought we were just going to run like a Tampa 2 and the middle linebacker was going to run and I cheated. You know, the physicality and just the raw emotions of that game were amazing. That was the first time in however long that also Tom had allowed us to wear the Royals.
Yes.
So the energy was like extra. Just a good old fashioned battle, man, with some really good athletes from the other side that wanted to win. And you know, I'm so glad that we won this last year because that was the last year we had won.
Right.
We had beat Utah and it had been a really long time. And so, you know, as a kid, you dream of playing in those type of environments where it's so loud. Like the energy is just, you know, you're in the locker room and you can just feel the people before the game just going like that. That's special. And that's why, you know, you remember those moments forever. And even watching like highlights, like my little kids will pull up BYU games and sometimes I'll see that and like you can't really explain to them what that feeling is like. And that was a special one for sure.
2010, December 18th, couple of interceptions against UTEP in the New Mexico Bowl. You're named the defensive MVP.
Yeah, I got a dream catcher as the trophy for that bowl. I still have that thing.
That's cool.
You know, so that game was special to me for a couple of reasons. One, UTEP was actually one of the very few schools that had offered or given me an opportunity to play at a high school. And the only reason that they looked at me is because Coach Price, who had coached at Weber State, he coached my dad at Weber State. My dad made a phone call, and Coach Price had just came from Alabama after that big scandal.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was fitting that my last game would be played against a guy that I admired and that coached my dad. You know, that senior year was a hard year. You know, we won the first game and lost 4 straight, and it was a battle to try to get to be bowl eligible. And, you know, we were in New Mexico playing in a bowl game where, you know, we'd been in Vegas previously. So we went from like living this cool, getting all these cool gifts to like, hey man, you guys are going to go to this balloon museum.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely
it's a land of enchantment for a variety of reasons. Land of
enchantment, yeah, green chili burgers. But what was special about that particular year, or that, you know, for me, I learned just a ton about just teamwork and overcoming adversity. And quite honestly, you guys, I could look across our roster and I felt like every team probably was more athletic than us. And, you know, Bronco, if you remember, like we just we got to change things. We got to change the way we're doing things. And Bronco started wearing a gray shirt, and I think getting fined by Nike every week because it was the shirt that we all wore underneath our jerseys, because it was a time to just change. And that was a good learning moment for me. You know, it's always hard when you have a tough season under like your watch, right? I feel like it was under my watch. But you know what, we ended on a good note, and that was a hard year, but I, again, learned a lot, gained a lot of respect for my teammates that stuck it out. And you kind of, when you get in those moments where you lose and you have some struggles, you get to learn about really who's in it, and made some lifelong friendships and that year.
Which prepares you better? Like, so now, Andrew, I tease Josh that you run Domo, right? So I know that you run Domo.
I wish.
And
hey, tell him to, yeah.
So
like I said.
So now that you're running Domo, and by the way, Andrew has a very prominent role at Domo. Does a phenomenal job there. I'm not just, I know he doesn't run it. I know Josh and those guys run it, but you know what? Andrew might as well run it because he's taking care of that sales force and doing a phenomenal job.
Well, our friend Greg Olson's his PR.
Yeah. Greg, our good friend, works with you.
Guy.
He's got terrible Salesforce hygiene, but he's a good guy.
Yes, exactly. but the question I wanted to ask was, which prepares you better for a role in after football like you have now, where you've got to deal with people and coach them up and do all of that? Is it the tough year, that senior year, or is it the glory year when you know you and Kellen were playing together and you were ranked nationally and just spanking people? Which is better preparation, or maybe are they both preparation in a way?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two aspects to me. One, like, adversity is the master teacher, and all truth lies in adversity, in my opinion. Like, you really find out who you are when you're faced with adverse situations. And so to me, adversity is a must in order to learn. Now, what's great about winning is, like, you know, you look at those really good years and how leadership can impact winning, but also preparation, the right people, putting people in the right place. So I think that there's two, really both allow you and prepare you. Like, if you can taste what it's like to win and to be under the spotlight and to have those experiences, like, those are really valuable too, because you're able to see, wow, my hard work has paid off and has allowed me to be successful. The adverse situations, while they're not, you know, always loved, they really are that, you know, that's what allows you to get a really good bearing on who you are and what you believe, as well as the people around you that are facing similar adverse situations. So my transition from football to work has been, you know, there's everything is so relevant: winning, losing, happy, sad, hard conversations, good conversations, like, all those things translate. And that's why I love college sport. That's why I love sports. And that's why I love youth to get involved in sports, because it teaches those experiences, maybe not at a huge level, but from a, you know, it teaches those things. And so I'll never, you know, everyone's like, well, are you going to let your kid play football? I'm like, are you serious? How many opportunities this thing's created for me? How many lessons I've learned? Have I been knocked around and had some surgeries? Yeah. But you know what? It's taught me a ton.
I think he's ready for 5 questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that answer has you ready for 5 questions.
Yeah, we do the 5. We do the 5 rapid fire. You don't even think about it. You just answer them. First thing that comes to your head. I want to start with, Your favorite sports movie?
Rudy.
You know what? That was on last night. I was flicking through the channels and Rudy was on, and I cannot. If it's on, it doesn't matter what else is on. I stop.
Everything stops.
Although I do feel like people have been giving Rudy some shade. Like I'm pretty sure like John or Joe Montana did. He kind of bagged on Rudy, but Rudy, easily for me.
You know what? I might punch Joe when I see him just for that comment.
If
you're gonna do that, will you record that?
Do you know what? I think Joe's just mad that Rudy's a BYU guy now.
He could be.
Yeah,
we brought him over.
Yeah, we brought him over
I actually loved Notre Dame growing up, and that's partly why I loved it. Like I had it with I was watching my kids maybe a few years ago, and I literally was trying to hide because it made me tear up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I just it's that stuff's real. So Rudy,
that's a great one. How about favorite singer or band?
Ooh, right now my favorite. I really like Morgan Wallen right now, but I would say.
He's a country
overall, guy. The Beatles are like, I don't know how they're iconic to me. My dad and mom listen to them all the time.
That's a
everybody
great
knows
answer.
that multiple generations know the Beatles. That's kind of, you go Morgan Wallen, so you're showing your countryside, right? And then you go with an old classic and the Beatles. That's pretty, that's, for a quick answer, that's pretty well thought out.
Favorite breakfast cereal?
Oh. Right now, I'm mixing peanut butter Chex with chocolate Chex.
What do you mean you're mixing? Is that even legal? Can you mix your own Chex?
Oh yeah, you definitely can. You go peanut butter Chex, because if you have one by themselves, like it's a little bland. But if you mix those things together with some vitamin D milk,
I'm telling you, the thing that I appreciate
that
here is anybody that comes to this show and throws out some healthy breakfast cereal. We can't even deal with that. That has to be some type of sugar cereal, or it's not real.
Who said shredded wheat?
Somebody said shredded wheat, and we're like, what?
How's that?
That's a facade. That's fraud.
They lied, didn't they?
Was
just
it Dan Forsman? Did Dan Forsman say shredded wheat?
Dan Forsman said shredded wheat, and then he backed up. And he goes, but you have to put like 6 teaspoons of sugar on it. I'm like, no.
He'll never. Don't invite Dan to the show. Nope. That's a terrible answer.
All right, favorite defensive back, whether it's college or pro. Your favorite one. Current or past?
It could be all time.
Ooh, man. I loved the Hawaiian Punch, Aaron Francisco, man.
Oh yeah.
That guy's a legend for a lot of reasons for me. But if I was gonna go like NFL, I might get some hate for this. But like I love the way Eric Weddle played football.
No, you're not going to get any hate. Everybody loves Eric Weddle. He's like
that dude. Yeah, that guy could do it all, and he's
Eric transcends the U in my mind. And I'm trying to think. Does his wife have some ties to be? I don't know, but
yeah, there's some.
I think there's some kind of a tie. But
I don't really know. But I loved watching Eric Weddle play football. When he was at the U, like holy cow, like. He was special.
You'll never hear Dave or I bad talk Eric Weddle. We got tons of respect for him. There's a few Utes that we'll
bad talk a lot of people, but we don't.
Not Eric Weddle. Not Eric Weddle. So okay, and then your favorite BYU moment, and it doesn't. We found out from Margin Hooks last week that it doesn't even have to be a football moment if you don't want it to be. He laid one on us that it just took us back. It wasn't a football moment. So your favorite BYU moment, it can be a football moment, but it doesn't have to be.
So my when I think about BYU, this is what I think about. My sophomore year, I transferred from Snow College, and I got to BYU. Kellen could probably tell you this. I did not love my experience. I didn't really see eye to eye with my position coach, and I'm not a confrontational guy. I'm a team guy, and I actually quit after spring ball. I told Bronco that I was done playing. And Bronco, we had some conversations. I went back the following day. There's some spiritual aspects to that I won't get into. But he called me every week, the whole summer. Not to even, I was dealing with some emotional and mental challenges as well. And he was just really good to me and just wanted to know how I was doing. He showed up to my house the week before fall camp and said, "Hey man, whether you play football or not, I think you're supposed to be at BYU." And he basically said, we don't really need you, like in a roundabout nice way. He was like, yeah, I don't think you're going to like make a huge impact for us, but this year, but I think you should be at BYU. I hadn't worked out and I, was kind of fighting this feeling. I ended up going back to BYU, obviously. And before I went, I was really stressed about not working out. And he says, hey, you'll win the Y run. And at that time, we used to start at the bottom of the Y and do that stupid thing.
Yeah, I won't even walk it, by the way, but that's
yeah, and I won it, and it was a weird experience. Like I'm like, man, this guy like a prophet. That's weird. And the only reason I tell that story, like I met my wife in the Harold B. Lee Library, and so full circle. I'm just grateful for the university. I'm grateful for the people that I had there. That's why that place is, there's a lot of games that we celebrate and won, but that experience, changed my life. And so that's definitely my highlight.
That's great.
That's awesome.
That's great. You're a BYU guy with a BYU story.
Yep.
And
I got a BYU story. Yep.
Won a lot of games, laid out a lot of guys.
Yes, he
from
did.
The safety spot.
Kellen, so Kellen, my oldest, and when Andrew refers to Kellen, of course, he's talking about my oldest that started at free safety there for a couple years, just a few years ahead of Andrew, and he loves Andrew. And when he first came, and when he came back from all that he talked about, Kellen's like, wait till you see this dude, Dad. He's gonna knock some people out. I'm telling you, he's going to knock some people out. And Kellen, who played that position and knows what it takes and learned from Aaron Francisco and then passed it on to Andrew. He loved the way Andrew approached the game and how physical he was. He told me, you got to watch this guy because this is what he's going to do. And he was exactly right. We loved watching Andrew.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate, Kellen was a great mentor and was awesome, was an awesome teammate. So yeah, those bonds you create in the locker room never leave, and I see Kellen once a year, probably some random thing. And, you can look a teammate in the eye and, it's there. Like that bond doesn't break, even though it's been years and we're in different places. So
always brothers.
Hey, you're first class. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. This is a really cool show you guys do. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Love having you, Andrew. Give my love to your family, especially a big hug to your dad. All right.
Definitely.
All right, brother. We'll see
Andrew
you.
Rich, outstanding safety at BYU, and man, he could hit.
Oh,
he could hit.
Yeah, Kellen's like, wait till you see this dude. And then when we'd watch and Kellen was done, he would tell me, I told you, that guy just brings it, and he would knock some dude. I kept worrying that Andrew's going to knock himself out the way he was hitting people.